This match starts calmly, but it doesn't stay that way. A promotion chasing side against a team just 3 points from the bottom. After an early mistake, pressure starts to build, challenges get heavier, and every decision is questioned from the touchline. By the second half, focus shifts away from football and into the technical area. What happens next tests whether I can stay composed when the pressure turns personal.
YouTube channel, you melt.
So as we're walking out, you might be wondering, where's the blue goalkeeper? Oh, there he is. He's wearing a very similar kit. So when we arrived, the away team, who are in blue, are obviously in their away kit, but they had forgotten to swap the goalkeeper kit, which is a very similar colour to their kit. At this level, we don't really have lots of kits at disposal. The goalkeeper can't really wear a bib. Maybe he could, I don't know what law says about it, but I wasn't really keen on him wearing a bib. So I asked the home team if they were comfortable. They said yes, I was comfortable. It does look worse on camera. The colours always look super overexposed on camera, but I was okay with it. We decided to let him wear it. But yeah, as you can see, they're very, very, very similar kits. So straight from kickoff, we get all this play. And then at this point here, it's clear to me that play can really only go one way. What direction is this guy realistically going to play the ball? He's either going to play it out here, or he's going to try and thread one through here, or he may even just try and ping one in here, but then the ball's going to end up going out anyway. So thinking about all these things, we start moving round. And for those of you that saw my video last week, or the video I posted with Jan, trying to make an effort to get into these areas here is super duper important. Okay, so getting wider round into these areas here. So we break round left, and then if for whatever reason there's a foul here, we have a really good judgment on whether or not that is inside the box, outside the box. Yeah, we're right on top of it to make a good judgment call. So we get our first offside of the game from the club assistant, and as you can see, it is absolutely correct. This player here in blue is past that last defender, second to last defender, and so he's in offside position. And notice how the club assistant holds his flag up and he stays there. This becomes a little bit of an issue with the next offside, because he doesn't do that, and we have a very, very difficult decision to make. So you'll see that the ball's played in by blue and it's hoofed up really quickly. The club official actually raises his flag, then he drops it, and so we have no choice but to give the foul, and then we're deciding, is that going to be a yellow or is that going to be a red for Dogzo? So then we go over and chat to the club assistant, who obviously raised his flag but dropped it, and he tells me that yes, he was offside, he just, drop the flag down. So I said, no problem, mate, we'll go with the offside, but when we give it, make sure to just put the flag straight up in the air and hold it there, like we discussed in pre-match, basically. So we give the offside. As you can see, he was offside. It is the correct decision, so all is well, but this could have been a very, very sticky spot. And what would you guys have given here? So let's say it wasn't offside. Would you guys have given a yellow or a red? For me, this would have been a yellow card. I don't think this would have quite met the criteria for Dogzo. There's a covering defender on the right-hand side. At the point the foul is made here, that I think that ball's going away from goal. And so for me, this would not have been a red card. It would have just been a yellow card. We then give our first free kick here. Very simple free kick to give. We mark out the wall. But then, where are we positioned here? I don't think it's a very good position for a free kick for me to be. I'm on the wrong side of the ball. The assistant's over there on that side. Yeah, I'm not sure this is a great spot to be. We're going to give another free kick here. And you'll see we're very lucky. We've got both views today. We've got both sides. The club had a video camera and they were very, very happy to share that with us. And so we got two angles. So if it's cut in between the two, it's because one camera was given a better angle than the other. And we give another foul here. Again, very kind of straightforward one to give. We tell the lad to back up and we don't mark out a wall, and you might be thinking, why aren't you marking out a wall? Well, on a football pitch, there is a marker usually on the touchline that shows 10 yards from the corner flag. And so without me having to go over and mark the wall, I can use this as a guide, okay? I can see that that ball is about 2 yards off of the sideline, and so I'll just make sure that the blue player is 2 yards past the dash on the touchline. Keeps the game moving quicker, and it's a simple visual aid you can use to mark out the wall in those sorts of areas of the pitch.
Stay with him. 1 and 2.
Then we get this tackle here. From where I was, it looked like he was just sliding in to block the ball. We can take a look at the video and see if it's actually a foul, but from my perspective, it looked like he was just sliding in to block the ball. May not have got that right, but from my perspective, that's what it looked like. I haven't actually seen the video yet, so I'm discussing this with you before I've seen the other angle. So we'll see what it looks like. And then here I give my first yellow card of the game. It's just not a yellow card, is it? You know, it's annoying. It's so annoying because during this game, it's really hard to show on camera because that you can't pick up all the sound around the pitch, right? But there are a lot of little niggly things happening off the ball. In this situation, I could see the red players driving now 2-on-1 out on the wing, going on an attack. He's played the ball sideways, and then for me, the blue players made a very late trip completely off the ball. And so for me, that was like clear unsporting behavior. It's completely cynical. However, watching it back, it doesn't really look like that's the case to me. He's kind of stuck his foot out just in case. His thigh makes contact with the other player's thigh. It's not the trip like I thought it was. And so this for me is not a yellow card. This is incorrect. This shouldn't have been a yellow card. This is why it's really important to have the whole perspective of the pitch and the perspective of the game. Like, even if he did trip him over, would I need to give a yellow card in this situation? Or could I manage this by talking to the player, as we've not really had a lot of fouls in the game so far, you know? Not super happy with this one. I think I should have managed it verbally. There's really no need to give a yellow card this early into the game. This yellow card, however, is absolutely bang on. Just 2 minutes later, he catches him on the foot with his studs. That is reckless play, and so that's a yellow card. Again, that's from my angle. You'll see the VO now, so if I'm wrong, apologies, but I was certain in the moment that he's caught his foot with his studs, and that is a yellow card. Something to note as well is on this, I call the physio on because I'm going to issue a yellow card. And when you show a yellow card to a player that's committed a foul, the player that's been injured, if they can be treated quickly, doesn't have to leave the field of play. So as soon as I know that I'm going to be issuing a card, I called the physio on. Turns out the lad didn't need treatment, so the physio just goes back off. Looks a bit messy, but you know, it's better to be safe than sorry in my eyes. The club assistant gives offside. Is he offside? No, I don't think so, but it's very, very close. And the club assistant gives it, which is totally fair. It's a very close decision. But then we get a problem. You'll hear him shout me down. So at this point, I go to the club assistant and he basically tells me that he was called something that he really should not be called. This is obviously a very difficult situation. You should treat club assistants as assistants if you hear or see the offence. If someone is shouting at the club assistant or calling them names or being abusive, then you deal with that just as you would a player or your own assistant, right? However, if you don't hear it, can you take action? I don't think so. I don't think you can. I spoke to the club assistant and I said, look, I'm really, really sorry if you've been called that. Okay, it's absolutely not okay. The issue I've got is if I haven't heard it, I can't take action. So what I will do is I will keep my ears very much pricked up and I'll be listening to how they're interacting with you. And if I so much as get a sniff of any abuse towards you, I will deal with it firmly. Is that fair? And he said, yeah, no problem. So then I go and chat to the home manager, who may or may not have said it, right? We don't know. I say to him, look, mate, if you've called him what you said you've called him, then it's a straight red card and it's a hefty ban. So if you have, or if you haven't, it's not up to me. I haven't heard it, but please be sensible with how you speak to the club assistant. And he's gone, yeah, no problem, ref. So that's how I dealt with it. Would you guys have dealt with it any differently? Let me know. This is a very difficult situation. If you haven't heard it, can you sanction it? Or maybe should you just put it in the report post-match anyway and say this is what was supposedly said? I don't know. So here you can see a late tackle, and again, this is the importance of having a trailing eye when it comes to refereeing. It looks like as that lad's played the ball, the number 2 has caught him late on his foot, and yeah, looks like I've missed it, but it's so important to have a trailing eye. However, it's not all bad because from that throw-in, the team in red go 1-0 up. They can't be too upset because if they had a free kick, they may never have scored. So we've got that ball in the far corner. They're tussling for it and the ball comes out. Now, as it breaks, at this point, we know that there's going to be a quick attack, right? You'll see me looking, and I'm looking directly at this lad here. The problem I've got is at no point did I actually check my shoulders, okay? I didn't look behind me, so I end up missing this lad here, which is frustrating, as we kind of bump and I'm in the way and he's the one who's now receiving the ball. So when there's a quick break and you're not gonna keep running, you're maybe gonna slow down, wait for play to pass you, make sure to check your shoulders so you can see what's around you, okay? There was no risk of that lad who had the ball being fouled, so make sure to check your shoulders. And then anyway, he plays the pass, we have to make a big sprint to get in, and yeah, ball ends up going out for a goal kick. So we get this in the penalty area. What do you think? This is so interesting, right? Because last week I posted a clip of this penalty. And you guys were really split on whether it was a penalty or not. In the moment, I didn't give a penalty because I thought he was shielding the ball, right? However, the more I watch it back and the more I've read up on law, the less I agree with myself from a week ago. However, I don't think it's a foul still. I think it's something called a fair charge. So you'll see under Law 12 on page 113, it talks about impeding the opponent without contact, which is an offence, right? You can't step into the opponent's path to block or slow them down when the ball is not within playing distance of either player. Now, what it does say is a player may shield the ball by taking a position between an opponent and the ball if the ball is within playing distance and the opponent is not held off with the arms or body. Then it says if the ball is within playing distance, the player may be fairly charged by an opponent. Okay, so what is a fair charge? A charge is a physical challenge against an opponent, usually using the shoulder and upper arm, which is kept close to the body. So when you watch that back, do you think that that's a challenge that uses the arm and the upper body? Let me know. Anyway, it got me thinking about this situation because it's very similar to what a lot of you will have seen. So they're challenging for the ball, and again, that ball is within playing distance, right? It's about a yard away. Both players could play it, and this player decides to use his upper body, and for me that is absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, let me know. The lad's complaining, he's asking what part of the ball has he gone for, and I'm explaining he doesn't actually have to go for the ball just has to be in playing distance, which is a hard one to explain because that's not the case with like a slide tackle obviously, but when we talk about a charge or a shoulder barge as people might call it, the ball just has to be within playing distance. You don't have to play the ball. We get our third yellow card of the game for this tackle. This is just so pretty nailed on, you know. You'll see this from both angles. It's just a late, reckless tackle. There's no kind of contact with studs or excessive force or anything like that. He's just slid in, he's late, and yeah, that's reckless play. So yellow card. And then we get another offside decision from the away club assistant. He raised his flag for offside, and these are really difficult. So you'll see that when the shot is taken, he is absolutely not offside, okay? This player here is not in an offside position, as this player here is playing him onside. However, at the point the ball is deflected and goes up, he's now offside, which is when everyone looks around. So there'll be claims of offside, and yeah, the club assistant sees it that way. So a decent half so far, 3 yellow cards, 1 not correct, which is frustrating. But I feel like I've settled into the game well and I'm managing the game well for the most part. I would like to say that this game gets easier, but it really doesn't. And yeah, you're about to see some things. So let's just jump into it. So shortly into the second half, the red team give the ball away and this player puts it away to make it 1-1. And then I give this foul, which they're not happy about. Do you think this is a foul? They're kind of tussling, there's some holding. The lad tries to play the ball. For me, he clearly doesn't win it, and so it's a foul. It's very similar to that one I gave against him for the yellow. Yeah, do you think it's enough for a trip? But besides that, honestly, this block here is absolutely biblical. Look at this. Look at the body on the line sort of stuff. He leaves the floor. He's off the floor by about 8 feet. Bam, body on the line. Big respect to that defender. We don't get this tackle here. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Good tackle. What you'll see is as we realise that tackle's going in, we are closer to the dugout, which is an effort I wanted to make because when fouls happen in front of the dugout, as you can imagine, there can be big reactions and things can boil over. So I made a conscious effort to get closer into the dugout when things like that could happen. And then the chaos which is about to ensue all starts from this. Ball gets played over the top. There's no foul, as you can see, and so we play on. And then we end up giving this goal kick. Okay, so that's the phase of play. That lad's complaining about the foul. I tell him, mate, it was not a foul. And then you'll hear from the sideline the manager shouting, ref, 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 referee. He's allowed to kick him off the ball, is he? And so at that point, this is dissent. Again, when something happens and there's an outburst of like, no, no way, ref, I got no problem with that. But the ball's gone dead. We're miles away from the situation now. And he's still shouting onto the pitch. And so I ask for his name and I say, look, don't shout onto the pitch to me like that again. Then as I'm walking away, he calls me something which I won't repeat. So then at that point, I have no choice but to show him a red card and I ask him to leave. At that point, he calls me another name and then another name, which you can see his assistant manager trying to stop him. And so then we obviously just ask him to leave the pitch. He then says, put this on YouTube, you melt. So here we are. And then unfortunately he refuses to leave the pitch. Now this is a difficult spot to be in when someone refused to leave the pitch. So I make it very clear that, mate, you're either going to go to the changing rooms or I'm going to abandon the game. It's as simple as that. And so he goes into the changing rooms. Then, as we're about to restart play, we hear some things on the sideline. And so we check our shoulder and he's sneaking back out from the changing rooms again. So at that point, we have to send him back in again, which is really not a good situation because ultimately I've dealt with the dissent and then the foul and abusive language and then the refusal to leave. And now I've got to worry about him coming back out from the changing rooms again for the rest of the game. It's just not what you want. And then someone on the sideline makes this joke, which is actually very funny. Someone's obviously been to the panto recently. But yeah, a piece of advice basically is if you're a referee and someone refuses to leave the pitch, you very simply just say, well, you can leave or I can leave. You might be thinking, well, what's the deterrent if a team is losing and you abandon the game? Teams are very, very heavily reprimanded for games being abandoned. It is really not a good thing and it's a super extreme thing to do. It's very rare that games get abandoned. And so if a team cause a game to be abandoned, I believe there's quite a hefty fine and punishment. I don't know what it is. We as referees don't know that. But yeah, so you can always use that. If someone refuses to leave, then that's kind of almost like a threat to safety because they're not going to leave the pitch. And so you can say either you go or I go. It's one of the two. That's absolutely fine. And they'll move on pretty quickly. It's also important to remember the mindset of the person that's been sent off. If they've been sent off, especially for something they don't believe they should have been sent off for, they're almost in like a state of shock. And I know this because I was a player and I've been sent off before. And when you get sent off, especially for something you don't believe you should be sent off for, there's such a feeling of injustice that you don't want to accept that you've got to leave the pitch. It's really hard to wrap your head around. And so I do understand why players or staff don't want to leave or kind of try and argue the toss because they are in like a state of shock. It's insane to say that, but they are. And I know that because I have been. And so you try and have some level of empathy for it, but ultimately they have to leave the pitch pretty immediately once they've been shown a red card. We then get claims for a foul against Blue. Watching this, I'm still not sure if it is a foul, but I'll be honest, the first like 30, 40 seconds of play here, I wasn't fully like in it. I was still trying to clock myself back into the game. And by this point, I had. So that's a simple foul for me to give. He uses a charge, but the charge is in the back, which is not a fair charge. And so for me, that's a simple free kick to give. And then the team in red go 2-1 up. We then give this throw-in decision against the club assistant, which obviously is not ideal, but I was certain of what I'd seen, and so we give it the other way. Again, club assistants can make mistakes without being cheats, right? So it's a simple mistake. It's a very hard decision. I had seen what I had seen, and you'll see from the VO that it comes off the Blue player's foot. If it hasn't, then apologies. So you'll see that I'm running straight in and showing the card again because it's by the dugouts and I don't want anything to boil over. And you'll hear the upset from the sideline.
Referee, that's lucky to be a yellow that mine, fucking reckless.
Again, this for me is a reckless tackle. And you'll hear from the sideline, that's lucky to be a yellow, it's reckless. I understand what people mean when they say reckless, but in the laws of the game, a reckless tackle is a yellow card. That is the definition of a reckless tackle, you know, you give a yellow card. A red only comes into play if they've used excessive force or they endanger the safety of the opponent. And you'll hear shouts of him being 2 feet off the floor. That to me was just not the case. He's basically taken 1 or 2 steps, he's got his leg across him, and he's just stopped him in his tracks. It's absolutely not endangering the safety of the opponent. There's no part of this that is a red card, and so it's just a simple yellow card in my opinion. And then from that free kick, the team in blue equalise. And then we bring this back for the foul. This is an interesting one because I see the foul, I bring the whistle to my mouth, so I'm waiting, and then the club assistant raises this flag, so I decide to blow the whistle. The reason I can do this is I've not said advantage, I've not signalled advantage. It was one of these things where Chris, thank you. We'll screenshot the comment here from Christopher Parsons. I think it's Christopher Parsons. Great tip that you got, that you said, was just wait and see. You don't have to say advantage or signal advantage straight away. And so I've waited, then I've brought it back without signalling advantage. And I think that allows me to do that. Is it a little bit long? Yes, but that's what I've done. Let me know what you guys think. And then shortly after, the team in red make it 3-2. And then straight from that kickoff, we get this foul here. The lad just runs in and pushes him in the back. It's a tough one, but it is a foul. And then from here, the team in blue make it 3-3. And then in the dire moments of the game, the blue goalkeeper makes this save. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time. Interesting game, 4 yellows on the pitch, 2 for each team. And then the sideline trouble with the club assistant and the manager, etc., etc. But ultimately, 22 handshakes after the game. All the players seemed happy. I was relatively happy with how I refed it. The first yellow card I do regret. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, and I can't wait to see you next week.